Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Timmy Johnson, and you're listening to MMA Latest News.com.
It's time to roll, baby.
Hello and welcome back to MMA Latest News. My name is James Sweet and we've got a brilliant show for you today. We're going to be talking all things Conor McGregor and a potential return in Dublin. We're going to be talking a brilliant victory for Justin Gaethje over Donald Cerrone. We're going to be previewing everything from Mexico City, where Jeremy Stephens will take on Yair Rodriguez in a brilliant featherweight clash. We're going to be talking Dustin Poirier kicking off at Colby, Covington, and so much more. But let's kick off with Conor McGregor. And first things first, leave your comments in the description and I will answer them all at the end of the video. Now, Conor McGregor has tweeted out onto his page, Dublin, December the 14th. He wants to get back into the octagon, and this is interesting because there's been no formal announcement of anything going on in Ireland, and it's been a long time since McGregor has fought in his homeland. Of course, he spends most of his time, either in Vegas or in New York, where the bulk of the money is. But he seems interested in potentially having a homecoming, and I think for Maria that'd be absolutely perfect for him. The amount he's been through in his life in recent times, of course, has been all the issues he's had outside the cage, from hitting elderly men in bars to smashing up bus windows. He's well and truly done it all. So maybe going back to his roots will be good for Conor McGregor, of course. Nothing official, but I think this would be perfect for him. And in terms of opponents, there are some real options for him. I know Justin Gaethje, we're going to get onto him a little bit later in the show, but after his win at the weekend, he'll be an option that would make for a fair fight. Or somebody else that I think could maybe deserve that fight. I think Paul Felder would be an excellent option. Of course, the Irish Dragon, he's got some links to that country. And I think he deserves a big fight now. So there's going to be plenty of options for Conor McGregor. It's going to be interesting to see that if he does come back on this particular day, if he'll be anywhere near his best. Of course, against Khabib Nurmagomedov, he wasn't remotely impressive, and he hasn't actually won since August of 2016 in that rematch with Nate Diaz. So if he does come back to Ireland and loses, will Conor McGregor be able to continue in the sport? I'm not sure, because that would be a loss that I think would crush him. It was hard for him to return after the Khabib defeat. He's not been the same man, outside of the cage. He's constantly causing disruptions, and people fell in love with him because he was this working class hero, this trash talker, but at the same time, he had the underlying sense of, humility. People really liked him. People related to him. And now he flashes the cast. That's sort of gone a bit. So I don't think fans are behind him like they used to be. People from the Dublin area don't like him like they used to. They don't think he's a great representation. But I've still got no doubt that he'd pack out any stadium or arena in Ireland at his choosing. So I think it's the best case scenario that he gets back in Ireland, gets a victory, maybe he gets a Paul Felder, and then looks for another top 5 opponent. Because if he's not shot, he's still got all the talent in the world. And if Khabib is to get beat by Tony Ferguson, Khabib's obviously got a terrible start for McGregor, then there are people that Conor McGregor can beat in that top 5. I mean, he's already beaten Dustin Poirier. Who's to say he couldn't beat a Tony Ferguson, a Justin Gaethje, a Donald Cerrone? So there's definitely options for Conor McGregor if he chooses to come back in Ireland. No man who he may be potentially taking on is Justin Gaethje. And he was absolutely excellent at the weekend against Donald Cerrone. And when Justin Gaethje moved over from World Series of Fighting into the UFC, he was known as the human highlight reel, and there was a reason for that, because he's absolutely sensational to watch. This man is truly brilliant. And I think we can all recall that fight with Michael Johnson where he had an absolute war and just about scraped through it. After that, he had 2 more entertaining fights, 2 Fight of the Year candidates against Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez, but unfortunately, he lost those fights. And it looked like he may never get to the sort of pinnacle of the division. He was taking brain damage. He was just taking too many shots. It's as simple as that. And his chin it looked like it was going to deteriorate. This man is an NCAA All-American wrestler and has attempted 1 takedown in his UFC career. That sums up just how entertaining this man is when he doesn't necessarily need to be. And now it seems against Donald Cerrone that he's made all the adjustments necessary. He got a 1-round knockout against James Vick, a 1-1 knockout against Edson Barboza, and now he's knocked out Donald Cowboy Cerrone in stunning fashion. Could the fight have been stopped a little earlier? I think so. Donald Cerrone, I think, took a couple more than was needed, and he wasn't massively fighting back. Donald Cerrone's a legend in his own right, and from here, I would like to see him potentially retire, because I don't see what more Donald Cerrone has to prove. I saw a clip the other day of him saying that if he doesn't achieve a UFC belt, then his career will be of a bit of a disappointment, but I don't believe so. Donald Cerrone's legacy is a man who was game to fight any man, any time, any place, no matter who it was. And he's somebody who's had the most fights in UFC history, up there with the most stoppages in UFC history. He doesn't need to prove any more. His legacy is assured, and there's no point losing all these fights because it's just going to taint his legacy. All Donald Cerrone needs to do now is either potentially retire or maybe fight slightly less frequency, because that brain damage adds up and you're less likely to go down off little shots than if you're not fighting regularly. So I think that Donald Cerrone takes a bit of a break, hopefully, maybe comes back stronger, or maybe rides off into the sunset. He's a father now, he can focus on that, and there's more important things in life than fighting. Now, Tristan Connolly went into this weekend as a huge underdog against Pereira, and Pereira was breakdancing in the ring. He looked ridiculous. It was like watching a young Michael Flatley in the octagon. It was just bizarre. He's exciting. He's doing backflips. He looks tremendous. But it doesn't actually pay off. And I know it's worked at the lower levels, but at the pinnacle of the sport, you're not going to be able to just act like, an idiot in the cage. It's one thing entertaining, but you've got to fight to a good standard. And if you're wasting all your energy doing backflips, front flips, ridiculous jumps off the cage, you're going to gas out, and people like Tristan Connolly are going to grind you down and beat you. That Canadian crowd massively got behind Connolly. He's their guy. He won, and that was a massive victory for Canada. And I know Connolly was the biggest underdog on that card, so what a moment. The biggest one of his fighting career. And I think he's put his legacy into a great position now. But where does Pereira go from here? I think he's got all the talent in the world, so just stop acting like an idiot in the cage. You're not part of diversity. Stop messing about and just fight to your full standard, because you're a very talented man, so don't waste it by trying to be overly dynamic. Anyway, now we're going to be moving on to Rodriguez and Stevens, and this is an absolutely terrific clash in the featherweight division. Two men who can't fail to entertain. They're in wars every single time. And who wins this one? It's difficult to say. Jeremy Stevens hits so hard, and I know he's been struggling as of late, but there are reasons to pick him for this one. Yair Rodriguez, I know he lost to Frankie Edgar, and he had all that hype behind him, and it died when he lost to The Answer. I know he came back with a good victory against the Korean Zombie, but that knockout came, I think, with only a few seconds left in the round, and the Korean Zombie was winning most of that fight. Yair Rodriguez cannot get into a war with Jeremy Stevens, because Stevens hits way too hard for that. So if he entertains an all-out striking war, I think Jeremy Stevens will come away with the victory. I think Yair Rodriguez probably has slightly more talent, but an edge towards Jeremy Stevens with his ring IQ and the fact that he's just been around for so long. And I think Yair Rodriguez will take risks and may potentially leave himself open to a big shot. Now we're going to be talking a little bit about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And I think the career of Wonderboy is one that's not been what it could have been. I think he should have been a UFC world champion in that second fight with Tyron Woodley. I know it was a boring fight, but I still feel that Wonderboy did enough that night. I felt he was unlucky not to get the decision against Darren Till in Liverpool. So he's up there with the best welterweights of all time, top 10 if not top 5. He's a great fighter, but his legacy isn't going to be remembered in the way it should be if he can't get past Vincente Luque. He needs a victory in big style. Last time out, he was knocked out cold by Anthony Pettis, and that hadn't happened throughout his entire kickboxing career and mixed martial arts career. So is that chin beginning to recede? Is it not what it used to be? We're going to find out. Vincente Luque came for an absolute war against Mike Perry, and that was definitely a close fight, but he's not a Mog Luque. He'll be coming to win this one, and Wonderboy has to be his absolute best. It's not going to be an easy night for him, but if he can perform like we're used to seeing him perform, I think Wonderboy will win this one. Anyway, the last topic of today, we're going to be talking everything that's going down at ATT, American Top Team, and Colby Covington. He isn't popular with the fans of the sport, and now it seems he isn't even popular with his own team. He's constantly causing kickoffs, and it's one thing trash-talking people who aren't relevant to you. It's one thing trash-talking even the legends of the sport, but to go after your own teammates, I just find it absolutely bizarre. Jorge Masvidal was meant to be Colby's friend, and Colby's mugging him off in the press. Now he's had a go at Dustin Poirier, and Dustin Poirier, we all love the man, don't we? But he doesn't want to stand for this. He's adamant that if Colby Covington says anything to him in person, Dustin Poirier will cause a fight right then, right there. Who do I think wins that one? I'd love to say Dustin Poirier. He's a far more natural fighter, in my opinion, and I like him far more. But Colby Covington weighs way more than Dustin Poirier. It wouldn't be a fair fight in that regard. What Colby Covington needs to focus on doing is fighting Kamaru Usman. Not asking for too much money, because despite the fact the hardcore are all talking about Colby Covington, because he's so controversial, isn't massively important in the grand scheme of things, because the average person on the street still doesn't know who Colby Covington is. He's not a draw. On his pay-per-view where he was the co-main event to Robert Whittaker and Yoel Romero when he, of course, beat Rafael dos Anjos for the interim world title, that only drew about 250,000 buys. Not that many tickets went when he fought Robbie Lawler, so nobody's tuning into Colby Covington, so he can't demand that much money. And even Kamaru Usman. And the fact that they messed around so much with the purses means that they both missed out on headlining at Madison Square Garden, something that every single fighter dreams to do in their career. So they've messed up in that regard. So Colby Covington, focus on your fight career. And those people that are in the gym with you, show them some respect, because they'll be there to pick up the pieces if you ever do get beat. Now let's have a look at the comments. Marilyn Chick has given me a big thumbs up. Thank you, Marilyn. And that is all we've got time for today on MMA Latest News. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll be back this time next week on Tuesday. And I think there'll be an episode of The Tap Out coming next week. Thank you all. Goodbye.